Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about the series finale of Top Boy. I have many mixed emotions. I don't understand why it was only 6 episodes, not 8, not 10, not 12. I think there are so few shows that would actually benefit from more episodes, and this is one of those shows. They spent so much time on secondary characters like Mandy and Kieran, which would have worked if we had more episodes to appreciate their stories. But because we only had 6 episodes, everything just felt rushed. It felt, like they were just trying to get to the point, like they were trying to get to the end. And because the season was so short, there were a lot of people absent from the show, and it was very much felt, right? Aaron was not there, Lizzie was not there, Aaron's girlfriend, like those cops, those undercover cops, like there were so many people, you're like, where are they? And so I'm not sure if they had scheduling conflicts. Like there was clearly something going on behind the scenes that the writers seemed to be making up for. And because the season was so short, you did notice. So again, there were many exceptional standout moments. The soundtrack was amazing. There was this moment where they had this freestyle rap, which would have been amazing if we didn't have 6 episodes. Like there was a part of me during that rap where I'm like, we need to get to the point, sis, like speed it up. I thought the start, like episode 1 was one of the best episodes of the whole series, just point blank, period. Sully, the way they were able to develop his character this season was phenomenal. Like he finally becomes top boy. And the actor who plays Sully, I mean, this guy, like what he's able to communicate with his eyes, I mean, he was the best part. I also liked Steph and Aaron's relationship. I felt that was not forced, and it actually felt very natural. And there were a lot of like moments with him, right? Like with the STD clinic, that guy who was bare itchy. Like I felt I was entertained, even though the script wasn't as tight as I liked. But again, that was another relationship that needed more episodes to breathe. Despite the number of standout moments, I felt many of these storylines like either needed to be cut or, again, we just needed to focus on one thing. So starting with Jack, I felt her story didn't really align with what we've seen of her so far. If they wanted to go the born again criminal route, they should have just committed to it. I thought Lauren's death was very bold, and it could have actually been just a great trigger for Jack to get out of this trade. And I thought they spent so much time on Mandy, so much time on Kieran, that something was going to come from that. Either Jack was going to be arrested for saving Kieran. Like there was a moment, like this show had a lot of tension where you're not sure where things were going. Or she could have just kind of used Lauren's death as a way to get out of it, right? But if she was going to steal those drugs, I mean, they needed to commit to it, right? Like you need to burn the drugs. I think one of the standout moments for me is when Jack took these bags of drugs to the community center. And luckily for her, Dushane robbed her, because if she walked in with those bags and Mandy saw, she wasn't walking out, right? Like that was such a weird meeting point. And again, I think Jack, Kieran, and Mandy could have all been used to advance like Jack's storyline and getting out. I do like the idea of her trying to get out of this, but instead it didn't really go anywhere. In terms of whether or not Jack killed Sully, I think she definitely did. Even if she didn't, Sully had so many enemies that, to be honest, it could have been anyone. And I think that was the point. Like the guy had done so many people wrong that it was only a matter of time. And even he knew it, right? Like he was waiting for the moment where someone would just kind of put him out of his misery. Whether or not Jack actually did move on, right? Like whether or not she's still in the trade, we're not really sure. I'm pretty sure she's still in the game. Like Jack's storyline, Mandy's storyline, pretty much everyone's storyline. Like I think the thing I did appreciate was how they kind of matched that to the demise of Summer House. But the problem is they spent so much time on Summer House this season and all the crazy things going on with it, that it was hard to appreciate this correlation, right? Like Summer House is up in flames. So is Sully, so is Dushane. Jack for a moment looked like she was about to get killed. Like I love that kind of connection, but again, it just felt like the writers were trying to give everybody time, but they didn't really have time to give. On to Dushane. I felt Dushane's storyline was depressing, and it was very like underdeveloped. First, his relationship with Shelly. I mean, y'all just need to blame the writers. she was willing to help him launder money, but not stay with him. But the minute she realized he didn't have this 2.1 million to give her, she was out, you know. And I never bought Shelly and Dushane as a romantic relationship. Like, I've had more chemistry with my enemies than these two have had, but I did buy them as partners. You know, like, I did buy Shelly kind of helping Dushane launder his money, and I think she gave up way too easily. Like, if she could have helped Dushane get back the money, or they could have kind of worked together, I think that would have made more sense. But for her to just get up and leave, like, I felt that kind of did Shelly's character a bit dirty. Like, that whole scene when Dushane was asking her like 21 questions, like, you're not going to stay with me, you know, if I gave you the money right now, like, and she just answered no to all 21 questions. And that last scene with them, when she gives him the passport, was the most loveless thing I have ever seen. Like, I couldn't take my eyes off you. Like, it was just like, they couldn't wait for this to be over. Like, there was just nothing there. And so I think that storyline, they could have definitely kept them together a little bit longer. The idea that Shelly would leave Dushane because he's a criminal doesn't really make sense. Well, it kind of was a bit strange because we know that Shelly has skeletons in her closet, that she's not an angel. So the fact that she would just kind of get up and leave when she's clearly created like some type of, you know, stability with Dushane, I don't know, y'all. I can't really blame Shelly for that. I also thought the way that Dushane handled the Lizzie situation didn't really sit right with me. Again, the thing I appreciated about previous seasons is how they kind of follow different characters. And Lizzie's absence was very much felt, right? What was her reaction when she saw Jamie die? You know, how did she approach the accountant to go to Dublin? Like, that would have been a fantastic storyline. Dushane, like, I understand that he was panicked, but for me, he's a very, I mean, the guy's a career criminal, and the way he handled Jamie, the way he kind of came up from zero, I just don't think he would be this rash. You know, like, his reactions to things just felt amateurish and not really of the caliber that we've seen him. And in terms of, okay, so the accountant stole all the money. The guy is a criminal. Like, you don't have money stashed away somewhere. I mean, you're a drug dealer. Why would you trust an accountant? So the idea that he would just put all his money there without having something as backup was also a bit strange to me. I'm like, you don't got anything left? Like, you just gave all your money to this woman that you basically coerced into working with you? Like, that was a whole other conversation. You know, this was such a lost opportunity. And I wonder if there was like more episodes written than Netflix made available, because Dushane and his sort of situation with Lizzie and the accountant, the fact that they were in Dublin, I felt was super convenient because Sully was dealing with the Irish. So I think those two storylines, I was waiting for them to somehow merge because they were fantastic, right? Like, the Irish, like, everything about them was on point. They definitely could have found Lizzie in Dublin. Like, that definitely could have merged. And also, Sully's reaction to the accountant taking all the money was a bit bizarre because the last we saw of him, he was setting money aside for his daughter. So he definitely should have been a bit more bothered than he was. This series, this finale could have greatly used just a change in landscape, a change in scenery. Like, we just really needed to get out. So I don't know why Netflix just didn't give them the budget. Again, I suspect there was just a lot behind the scenes, to be honest. The kind of issue or problem I had with Dushane's character was his reactions to things. Like, he was very impulsive. This whole thing of needing to be everywhere, like that whole scene when he was watching his apartment, knowing that the police were there, knowing that his prints were all over everything, like, I'm like, why do you have to be everywhere? Like, he was just moving mad. And killing Jeffrey is one thing, like, I understand why he killed him, but the way he cleaned up that body, you know, like with the bleach, it's like, I understand that he was shook, but again, this is a career criminal. Like, he had so much time to reflect on how badly he cleaned up that scene, and he never thought to go back. He never thought to go back and clean it up. And actually, the show does a good job, again, of creating this tension, because there's a scene with Sully where he's like, so what happened to Jeffrey? And Dushane looked so unbothered, right? And I thought he was unbothered because maybe he had set Lizzie up. Like, maybe he had come back to Jeffrey's place and, you know, try to get his prints, actually clean up the scene. So the fact that Dushane was so unbothered, knowing that he didn't do the greatest job cleaning that up, like, again, I think it would have been really interesting to watch Dushane and Sully be arrested by the police or somehow go down in that way, especially considering, you know, their willingness to use the police against Jamie's gang. But the way it went down, it was just like, they definitely deserved, like, if Dushane is gonna go down, I think he deserved a lot better than that. Dushane's death, like watching him in Summer House was actually very depressing. Like, he tried so hard to escape this place only to end up right back where he started, and that was an appropriate end for his character. But just watching him like steal these drugs, he looked so pathetic, you know, and I think that was the point. But he just, again, like, it was the lead up to it, you know. Did he need to be watching his apartment? Like, that was such a weird decision that he made. It wasn't going to do anything. He had to wait for someone to drop off his passport anyway, so, you know, why did, like, how did we get here? Moving on to Jamie, I felt his death was like kind of swept under the rug. I was like, y'all. And the thing with Jamie, like, the series started off exceptional. Like, we start off where we left off, and I'm telling you, that first episode was unbelievable. I thought Sully was gonna kill everyone. And that's the thing, he was so unpredictable. And so in terms of Jamie's death, like, we know how close he was to his crew. We know how close he was to his brothers. So the idea that they would just kind of accept just felt it felt a bit strange to me. Aaron's like absence was definitely felt. The series spent a lot of time on Aaron, on Steph, on his girlfriend. So I definitely think watching the three of them try and take down Dushane would have been interesting. And considering that Dushane used the police against Jamie, I don't see why Steph couldn't just identify Sully, right? Like, as far as he was concerned, like, you almost put Jamie in jail, so, you know, like, they could have definitely used that storyline, brought in those, you know, those cops. But again, without Aaron's presence, you're just like, what is happening here? In terms of, you know, Jamie's death, I did feel like the writers did their best to make up for it by giving us this relationship between Steph and Aaron. Like, Steph, you know, he grew over the last season. He seemed way more confident. And I did enjoy that tension where you're not sure if he would follow Jamie's route or if he would kind of stop the cycle. Like, you really didn't know what Steph was thinking. And his relationship to Aaron felt very natural. I do like that they both have this shared dislike of Sully. Like, I didn't feel the script was trying to force their relationship. Like, they really did feel like two people who had a crush on each other. One of the standout scenes is when Steph is alone, you know, on that bench talking to Jamie. But again, I was like, where's Aaron? You know, like, the whole thing of him working in marketing, like, I just don't buy him having abandoned his brother like that, especially considering how strong they were. So again, I suspect there was some scheduling conflicts. And again, there's, with only 6 episodes, people's like, it was hard to focus because you're like, where's Aaron? Like, this is not really explaining anything. Maybe if I'm wrong, but I think Aaron is old enough to take responsibility over Steph. Like, he could, like, I feel like enough time had passed where Steph did not need to be living in a home. Maybe I'm wrong, but wasn't Aaron in university? So legally, he could have actually taken his brother in. But I don't know, maybe I got the age wrong. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. So I didn't buy that he would just be so far away from him. And so this whole series, like, you're kind of waiting for the moment for Steph to take revenge on Sully, especially the moment where Steph confirms to Sai that it was Sully who killed his brother, right? So there is that tension where you're like, when are they going to get this guy back? Like, Sully has so many enemies that you just expected him to be shot from all sides, but it never happens. And that final scene between Sully and Steph was really appropriate because Sully could have actually, it felt like he could have definitely retaliated, but he was so done and he was so depressed, and he was kind of hoping that Steph would shoot him, right? When Steph said, "You're not worth it," like, he's like, listen, being Sully is bad enough, right? And I think Sully was just waiting for someone to take him out. Like his face, and I think losing Dushane was the nail in his coffin. Like he already barely had will to live, and now he really didn't have any will to live. And so going to Sully, so the best part of this whole season was Sully, and I'm really sad we didn't get enough episodes to appreciate his time as Top Boy, because, you know, we watched him kind of stay in the background, and this was the moment, right? Like when that bathroom scene in the first episode was phenomenal. Like again, episode 1 started off with such fire. Sully was unpredictable. We didn't know if he was gonna shoot Jack. He was just embracing his monster. And I think he had dedicated so much energy, right? He shot his best friend. He's kind of lost all these people around him. And so as Top Boy, he just kind of embraces it, right? Like he has no mercy. He doesn't even pretend to have mercy, right? Like he just tells people like it is. And every conversation he had, every comeback he had, right? Like I'll stand in English, was fantastic. I felt like the storyline with the Irish, again, it was very much wasted, but it did show how crazy Sully was, because right from the beginning, he kind of meets someone who is as crazy as he is. Like Johnny was insane. He was unstable. I thought it was appropriate that Johnny also wanted to be Top Boy by taking out his uncle. Like that's kind of what he was hinting at. And the thing with the Irish storyline, again, there just weren't enough episodes, and I don't buy that they would have been taken out that easily, you know? Like, I think one of the best scenes is when Johnny's walking Sully through that kind of like hallway. Like I thought Sully was gonna get it, but I think the fact that he was willing to take out the Irish like that, not really caring about consequences, was a bit crazy, right? So Sully's reign as Top Boy starts off a bit rough, right? He finds out that his suppliers are dead. And again, that scene with their heads decapitated was one of the best scenes. Like, again, the series got off to a smashing start, right? Like, and we're kind of introduced to these people that seem to have all this reach. And that's the thing about the Irish. Like, okay, you're able to kill these people in Morocco. Emilio's dead. Like, again, I would have loved the change in scenery. Like, that would have been very much appreciated. I thought Sully's plan to kill them at the retirement home was a bit weak, because why would this caretaker agree? Because from what we saw of the Irish, I mean, they knew who Sully's daughter was. Like they seemed to, I don't think they would have hired these people unless they knew everything about them. So in my mind, like this woman put herself at great risk helping Sully, because I imagine it would not take that long for the Irish to figure out that this woman betrayed them. Like I don't think it would take that much time to do that. And again, I felt Sully in dealing with the Irish, maybe they could have worked together. Maybe, I don't know, if he was gonna take them out, I'm not sure that was the way to take them out. Like it was just way too easy. And that Johnny guy just seemed like a little bit way too, I don't know. He was insane. And like 3 episodes, I don't know how long he was in it, but it was just way too short. And I would have appreciated like that storyline to go longer. Like that scene when he shoots, you know, Johnny's dad, and his dad is just like, when he shoots Johnny's uncle and his uncle's dad is just like mourning him. Like I'm like, is this, I just thought that was like the weirdest thing. Like I didn't really know what to do. But anyway, Sully was unhinged. It showed in all the decisions that he made. And his reign was very violent, right? Like he was not someone that was willing to work with anyone. And I think there was definitely a difference in approach between how Dushane would have handled it and how Sully would have handled it. I think Dushane would have been a lot more diplomatic with the Irish, whereas Sully was just like, I don't want to work with you, right? Like the Top Boy, I am the Top Boy. And that was his whole vibe, right? Like there was something very kamikaze about the way Sully was like running things. The only time we see Sully break is when he kills Dushane. Like this was the kill that affected him the most, right? Like throughout the series, throughout this final season, like he was cold, right? He killed Kieran. He was like, Jack, you next. Like he didn't care. But watching Dushane die just broke his heart. And I thought it was so appropriate that there was a wall between them, right? Because this wall had been building, this tension had been building. And in the end, his best friend or his brother died, and he felt so bad about it, right? The way he even shot Dushane, it was just like you could tell he regretted it the moment he pulled the trigger. And Sully basically finally got to pour his heart out. You know, listening to him tell Dushane, like, listen, you could have just asked me for the money. Like, that's the last thing Dushane wants to hear, right? Because Sully made it clear, we are not friends after this. You need to go your own way. So Dushane is like, there is no way I could have asked your ass for anything. Like, what do you mean? And I think Dushane's death had more of an impact on Sully than even he imagined. And I think one of the best lines I've heard in this series, or just of any series, is this whole, if we're not monster, we're food, and I can never be food, right? Like, Sully was like, listen, I will not be used, right? And I think that was always Sully's issue. Like, he never felt like Dushane's equal. He always felt like just, like he didn't have as much control over things as he would have liked. You know, everything that he had come to love is pretty much gone by the end of the series. And so his death at the end was really well done, because, you know, you think he made it, right? You're like, okay, well, he made it this far, so I guess he's staying alive. And just watching his face talk to Steph when he was like, listen, I don't feel anything anymore. Like, the guy was done. And the way that he had kind of run things, it was only a matter of time, right? Like, there is no way you can be Top Boy in the way that he was being Top Boy without, like, severe consequences. I think Sully's reign as Top Boy really made sense for his character, because he was ruthless, right? He didn't want to negotiate, and he was ready. Like, it seemed like he was truly ready to die, and I love how they foreshadowed his death from the beginning of the season. Die on the same path that he walks his daughter to school every day. And so, and being Top Boy just wasn't worth it, right? Like, there were no Top Boys at the end. And I think it was an appropriate ending, but the way they got there, I think definitely could have used more episodes. We needed more time with different characters. And again, they created so much tension, and they introduced so many great, you know, they had all these exceptional moments. They just didn't really have time to really unpack it all. And 6 episodes is really a crime. I don't know what happened to the other 4 episodes. Like, it was a good season, given what they had to work with, right? Like, there's not much you can do in 6 episodes, to be honest, especially for a show like this that previously had 8. So again, I don't feel like it was right, you know? Like, I almost want them to undo it. Like, I just feel like that's why I'm kind of mixed. Because that's why I have, like, mixed emotions. I think they did the best they could with what they were given, which wasn't much. So again, Sully, his character was phenomenal. Dushane, I mean, I have no words. Like, that man just, the way he died was so pathetic. You know, like, trying to negotiate. Like, even if he were to leave the country, like, he wasn't going to make it far, right? Like, he was always going to die. Like, there's just no way he was ever going to make it to Turkey with all these people watching him. And even the guy on the phone, like, the guy he was trying to convince to get him out was like, I mean, I guess. They did Shelly dirty. Like, yo, I know they did Shelly dirty. Like, that whole nail salon thing, like, she gave up way too soon. So yeah, I feel disappointed. I expected more episodes. I expected more. And so you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.